Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. It is what's 9 a.m. 9 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time here in Indiana. So hopefully it's either morning or afternoon, well, maybe even evening where you guys are at, wherever that may be. But we are here. We are out at the Morgan Monroe State Forest, overlooking the lake today, and I can do a quick pan around to some of the positions that I have set up on the camera here today to kind of bounce out to every once in a while. So that's the one. We'll go straight on shot there. You can see the dam levee on the right hand side of the screen there, and then of course we have the ATOS antenna cam. Yazoo, if you guys are watching, we can maybe sponsor that. I don't know. We'll have to see how the rules go on that one, but out here having fun. And if you guys are just stumbling across this, wondering what the heck I'm doing, I'm an amateur radio operator, a ham radio operator, and I'm out here in the park doing a program called Parks on the Air. That's where we set up our gear and make contacts. And we kind of track them, and there's a whole website, POTA.app, POTA.app. Go check that out. There's a couple other programs that are similar in nature, depending on what the activity or the objective is. Summits on the air, there's castles on the air. I think there might be Walmarts on the air and some other fun things like that. But really, it's just an excuse to get out of the house and get on the radio. Kind of that next generation of ham radio operators. So throughout the course of this, I will be making contacts live on the air with people. If you're watching and you are a ham radio operator, look for me on the POTA spotting page, and I will be transmitting and activating the park this morning. In past, I've had some operators that followed along here on the stream that live closer to where I am. So I'm going to start on 40 meters to give those guys an opportunity to make contact with me. And then we'll swing over to 20 meters where the band's a little bit longer, and we'll get more coverage across the United States and over into Europe. Hey, good morning, Steve. Looks all right. We got South Africa in the house. There we go. I guess that makes me international now. I like that. So if you guys are watching, actually, this is live streaming right now. Also, in addition to YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, X, and Rumble. So no matter how you consume your content, hopefully there's a pathway for you to check it out. And and of course here, obviously preaching the good word, evangelizing the good word of amateur radio. So without further ado, I'm going to just go ahead and get into this and get going. So let me go ahead and share my logging screen, and I've got a radio camera on my radio here so you guys can follow along and hopefully see as much of this presentation as you can for what I'm doing here. So currently, looking at 40 meters of the 7 megahertz band, there are some stations that are spotted out there currently. This is actually in state of Georgia. They've got a POTA Support Your Parks weekend type event going on. So there's actually a lot of parks that are active. People are in parks activating. So there's a fair number of people on there. I'm going to go ahead and call CQ though. So I'll spot, and if we don't get much luck, maybe we can swing through whoever's active at the time and try to make some contacts there too as a hunter. So.
Are there any additional stations from UKC or Relay?
Is this frequency in use? November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot. Is this frequency in use? November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot. Is this frequency in use? November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot. CQ Parks on the air, CQ Parks on the air, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ Parks on the air, CQ Parks on the air, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ Parks on the air, CQ Parks on the air, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ Parks on the air, CQ Parks on the air, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. It looks like my spot just went out. CQ Parks on the air, CQ Parks on the air, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by.
Kilo Whiskey 2 Golf.
Kilo Whiskey 2 Golf, good morning, 5-9.
Good morning from West Virginia. I've got you a solid 5-9 here. A whole bunch of QRM in the background, almost the S9 level, but I got you pretty clear. Thanks for the activation. QSL.
All right, Kip, I copied the 5-9 with some QRM there in West Virginia, my friend. You have a great morning in 73.
7-3, thank you.
All right, thank you. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot, yours, Ed. CQ Parks on the air, CQ Parks on the air, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. James, I hope everything's okay. CQ Parks on the air, CQ Parks on the air, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by.
Kilo Alpha 8 Golf India Mike.
Kilo Alpha 8 Golf India Mike. Bill, good morning, 5-5.
Roger, Roger. You are 5-6 into Wisconsin.
All right, thanks to 5-6 into Wisconsin, my friend. You have a great morning in 73.
73, have fun.
All righty, thank you. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot, yours, Ed.
Kilo Uniform 4 X-Ray Victor.
Kilo Uniform 4 X-Ray Victor. Daryl, good morning, 5-9.
Good morning. You're 5-5 in November Charlie this morning.
All right, thanks to 5-5 into North Carolina, my friend. You have a great morning in 73.
7-3.
November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot, yours, Ed. CQ Parks on the air, CQ Parks on the air, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ Parks on the air, CQ Parks on the air, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. I might go find a new frequency there. I got some noise on both sides of me. Is this frequency in use? November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot. Is this frequency in use? November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot. CQ Parks on the air. CQ Parks on the air. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ Parks on the air. CQ Parks on the air. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. James, hopefully you've got resources. If you need something, reach out to me. We'll try to find some resources for you through the network of people we know. CQ Parks on the air. CQ Parks on the air. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by.
Whiskey Delta 4, Delta Alpha, November.
Whiskey Delta 4, Delta Alpha, November. Dan, good morning. 5-5 fried rice.
Good morning. Happy Sunday in the park, everybody. 5 and 5 here in South Georgia. Tim, have a great day. Everybody. Missouri.
See, I messed up John's call. Now I'm messing up your call, Connor. I apologize. Got the 5-9, my friend.
It's all good, buddy. Hey, thanks for the park. Have a great one.
All right, thank you. Have a good morning. 73, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot, QRZ. CQ Parks on the air. CQ Parks on the air. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ Parks on the air. CQ Parks on the air. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by.
November X-ray 8 Golf.
November X-ray 8 Golf. Rex, good morning. 5-7.
QSL 54 in Ohio. That's 53.
All right, thanks to 5-4 in Ohio, my friend. You have a good morning at 73. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot, QRZ. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ POTA, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. All right, well, a lot of this has to do with the time of day and people available and stuff like that. So let's switch over to doing some quick hunting, and then we'll swing over to 20 meters. I'm sure there'll be more people there. 7.194. So these people I may or may not be able to hear. That's kind of the other.
just dropped in. Again, the Foxtrot Whiskey 7 Foxtrot Whiskey Hotel. Whiskey 7 Fox Whiskey Hotel. Whiskey 7 Foxtrot Whiskey Hotel.
Yeah, okay, so those guys I am not going to be able to hear good enough that we would be able to get a good contact, I'm guessing.
Yeah, Roger, Roger. I got you about a 2-2 here in Golf Alpha this morning. Roger, Roger. I only call bits and pieces of that, but I do have you in the log, and I do appreciate you hunting me this morning. 73. Good luck. Appreciate it. This is Kilo Oscar 4, India Zulu, Kilo Fox on the air. QR's dead.
November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot, park to park.
Was that the non-station? Come again.
Yeah, good morning, Colin. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot, NW9F.
All right, you came up a little bit. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot. I'm going to give you a 5-3 here in Georgia this morning, 2207.
I copy the 5-3, my friend. You are 5-5 into my park, US 4215, 4215 QSL.
QSL, I got that, 4215. Gotcha. In the log. Hey, good luck on the activation, 73.
All right, you have good activation today too, my friend, in 73.
This is Kilo Oscar 4, India Zulu, Kilo Fox on the air, Georgia. Siki Parks on the air, Kilo Oscar 4, India Zulu, Kilo. Calling CQ for Parks on the air, Anderson.
James, that's good. I'm glad you got some resources there to help out. Like I said, if you need anything or whatever, reach out. I'll see what I can do through other contacts and everything like that. Which might ultimately wind up back to somebody there local, most likely. So, good deal. Yeah, that's kind of the downfall, right? You know, of being prepared and stuff like that for natural disasters and everything. And that's where ham radio, if you're once again stumbling across this is where ham radio comes in, is in situations like that where there's events and you need somebody to jump in there. Yeah, Aaron, I'm with you too, man. I think they were holding employment calls for deckhands on the USS Noah's Ark around here. So you and I aren't too far apart, so I'm sure we're seeing the same weather pattern come through. All right, let's swing over to 239 here.
This is November 4 Tango, Romeo Delta. Whiskey 1 Echo Charlie Charlie.
Whiskey 1 Echo Charlie Charlie. Malcolm, our first Q, so you're +10. Great signal, buddy.
Thanks very much. You're a 5-9 in Virginia, over.
Roger, Roger. Malcolm, got you in the log. Thanks for hunting. Have a great morning.
7-3. 7-3.
This is November 4 Tango, Romeo Delta. November 4 Tango, Romeo Delta. QRZ.
November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot, park to park.
Juliet Tango. Again, please.
November 4 Echo Juliet Tango, over.
Roger, Roger. Ed, thanks for QSO number 159 into the park. QSL.
QSL, you're 5-9 here into Winder. Have a good one. 7-3.
Thanks, Ed. 7-3 QRZ.
November 8 Tango Sierra uniform.
November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot, park to park.
November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot. Was that it, Tim?
Roger, Max. Good morning. You're 5-9 into my single park today, US 4215.
Roger, Tim. 5757. Great signal. I tried to get you again last night. I think you moved, maybe, but no, you came back and worked me. That's right. You came back and worked me. Thanks for the 2 for yesterday. I appreciate it. And thanks for the 2 bands. And thanks for dropping in here. You have a great day. 7-3.
All right, 73, my friend. Have a great day.
This is November 4 Tango, Romeo Delta, QRZ.
November 8 Tango
Whiskey
Sierra
Tango 9 Juliet. Whiskey Tango 9 Juliet.
QRZ, November 4, Bravo, Foxtrot, Romeo.
24, Bravo, Bravo.
Kilo Charlie 4, Bravo, Bravo, 59 into US 3727.
Alabama.
Thank you for Alabama 73.
November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot, QRZ.
Number 4, Bravo, Foxtrot,
Stupid
Romeo.
me. That just came out of my mouth and I'm not even thinking about it.
CQ POTA from November 4, Bravo, Foxtrot, Romeo in US 3727 in Georgia.
November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot, park to park.
November Whiskey 9 Fox, I got you 5656 in the US 3727.
I copied 5-6 into US 3727, my friend. You are 5-9 plus here in the park this morning. US 4215, 4215.
All right, I got 4215, Morgan Monroe in Indiana. Thank you for the 55.
Oh, no, you're 5-9 plus, my friend.
Yeah, thank you for the 59, even better. Hi. Thank you. Happy hunting and happy activating at 73.
You have a great activation today at 73, my friend.
It's going terrific. No complaints at all. QRZ, November 4, Bravo, Fox, Romeo. Whiskey 7, Alpha.
All right, so that was our, did a little activating, did a little hunting on 40 meters, and this is what our kind of map looks like here on the right-hand side of the distribution of contacts. So here just south of Indianapolis and all the way down to the Florida-Georgia line there. And then up into the Wisconsin area, and then Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia area, and then far out is Missouri. So not bad. Let's go ahead and swap over to 20 meters and see what that looks like. So decent number of stations that are already spotted. Oh, golly. Missed it. I tell you what, man, I need to get a producer. That's what I need. I need somebody that's on Johnny on the spot with all that stuff. Okay, so got the radio on 20 meters. Let's go ahead and well, that's awful quiet. Is this frequency in use? November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot. Is this frequency in use? November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot. CQ Parks on the air. CQ Parks on the air. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ Parks on the air. CQ Parks on the air. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ POTA, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by.
This is Kilo Quebec 4 Tango Delta Quebec. This is going out to the two stations. You got two stations CQing on the same frequency on 14290.
Al, hey, thank you. Good morning. I appreciate that. I'll go ahead and find a new frequency.
This is Kilo Quebec 4, Tango Delta Quebec down here in Tampa Bay. I have my hex being pointed north. I don't know, are you up there by Minnesota? Okay, well, we're clearing on the side. Just letting you both know that you two are securing us on the same frequency. You can't hear each other. 73, I'll be on the side.
Hey, good morning. I'll tell you what, you guys are hunting POTA. This is the guy to get out to. November 2, November Whiskey Kilo. 6 and 7, 7 parks in a single activation is that counts as 6 and 7 contacts. So that's always a good one to get a hold of. All right, so it sounded like somebody else was using this frequency that I couldn't hear, which is fine. But that's one of the problems that you run into in this gentleman, Al, Kilo Quebec 4, Tango Delta Quebec. He was nice enough to let us both know that we were trying to operate or use the same frequency and we couldn't hear each other. So that worked out. I'll just go ahead and find a new frequency. Once again, trying to coordinate with other people that are doing POTA. At least I know that, but if they're not spotted, I can't necessarily know that they're active on a frequency. And if I can't hear them, then you run into that. Does it happen? Absolutely. Happens all the time. One of the things in trying to make sure when you're activating is that you aren't using a frequency that you know is going to be active, because I may not be able to hear the people that are activated that I know are on a frequency, but somebody in between us, or like in this case, because both myself and it sounded like the other operator was up in Minnesota, that we may not have been able to hear each other, but somebody further away would have problems trying to hear both of us. So I'll do the same thing. 288 is not being used. Actually, I'll go to 287. Is this frequency being used? November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot. Is this frequency in use? November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot. Well, let's go both. 23. Is this frequency in use? November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot. Is this frequency in use? November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot. CQ Parks on the air, CQ Parks on the air, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ Parks on the air, CQ Parks on the air, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. Aaron, I'll tell you what, I appreciate. We had Sebastian from Ham 2K and Polo on the kids table Wednesday night, and that was a great conversation. And I hope that between the World Radio League, the Hammers Pro 2.0, and Polo, that inspires some great competition between those guys to hopefully that everybody wins. We all get a good product, whether you're on Team Hammers or Team Polo or Team World Radio League, and we get something good. CQ Parks on the air, CQ Parks on the air, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ Parks on the air, CQ Parks on the air, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ Parks on the air, CQ Parks on the air, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ Parks on the air, CQ Parks on the air, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ Parks on the air, CQ Parks on the air, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ Parks on the air, CQ Parks on the air, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by.
Whiskey Delta 4, Delta Alpha, November.
Whiskey Delta 4, Delta Alpha, November. Dan, good morning. Thank you for the new band, 5-9 Fried Rice.
Good morning again. Happy Sunday in the park, fried rice.
All right, sounds good, my friend. Have a great day today in 73.
See you.
All right, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot, QRZ. CQ Parks on the air, CQ Parks on the air, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ Parks on the air, CQ Parks on the air, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ Parks on the air, CQ Parks on the air, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ Parks on the air, CQ Parks on the air, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by.
Kilo Mike 4, Quebec, Kilo Yankee.
Kilo Mike 4, Quebec, Kilo Yankee. William, good morning, 5-9.
Good morning, 5-9.
All right, thanks for the 5-9, my friend. You have a great day today in 73.
73.
November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot, QRZ. You're quite welcome. This is one of my things that I enjoy doing. This is why YouTube is such a great tool, especially for this hobby. As more and more younger people, and I'm in my 50s. I'm in my early 50s, but I'm a technologist. I am in the IT field. But I look at my kids, ranging from their early 20s all the way down to 7 years old. This is the avenue that they learn. This is how they do it, and I enjoy teaching through demonstration. Really, I mean, you can get up and do slides. You can talk about things. You can have people read books all day long, but just pure observation, being able to put your hands on things. Um, this is how I think, at least myself, how I learn the best. And this kind of learning wasn't available necessarily when I was in school. Um, it was the one size fits all approach to everything. And if you didn't fit in that box, you were generally labeled as stupid or a bad kid, or didn't, you know, uh, obtain your potential and things like that. And so, I've been a big advocate for um, this newer style of learning and things like that. So, I practice what I preach, and I get out and do these things. So, oddly enough, if you saw me a couple of years ago, I'd been terrified to do what I'm doing now, and just talking to a dot, a green circle on my camera up there. So appreciate it, and hopefully people that are watching this, I mean, there is some value. I know there's some dead times in here. Usually this is rip roaring and everything, and there's a lot of activity. Just sometimes the bands are what the bands are. So good morning, John, and you're right. YouTube is the classroom. I there's a large contingency of people out there, and myself included. I hate clubs. I don't even want to waste my time going to a club. Um, Not that there's bad people in clubs and things like that, but they get wrapped up into club business, and that kind of stuff just doesn't interest me. Getting out and getting in the park and doing these things and everything. So, um, and it kind of ties back to the mission that I've got with amateur radio. I'm going to bring myself to the forefront here. One of the things that I have personally with amateur radio is ensuring that it's an activity for me. It's a hobby. It's not like a lifestyle. Unfortunately, you get a lot of people that ham radio becomes a lifestyle, much like you see people coming out of the military, which I was in too. It's a lifestyle. I don't run around with my call sign on my hat and things like that. Nothing wrong with it. It's not my jam. I enjoy electronics, and more and more in this hobby, and kind of my goal has been yeah, John, I saw that. They're going to be there. Make sure you remind them, if you see them online, harass them. Tell them they need to go to P-Town to get lunch. So, my background, and I think Aaron's in here. Aaron and I did the same thing in the Navy. And you're right. YouTubes are my new Elmers. It was the Navy who saw my potential and gave me an education, and it served me well, and it jump started me to get to where I'm at in my career today. Not only in the education thing, but also the mindset and the work ethic and everything that I bring, and my employers appreciate that, because they know that I run my data center like I run my work center from the Navy, and Aaron will know what I'm talking about there, but the area that I was responsible for on the ship. So that's kind of lacking in the hobby, is the creative tinker, the side of the hobby. It's operators versus people who are looking at it from an engineering perspective and understanding and learning, and wrapping their hands and using amateur radio to wrap their hands around all these theoretical things that they learned in school but never really could understand it more than because it never lived beyond what was on the paper or on the whiteboard. And so I like the fact that YouTube allows people like myself to get out there and just do it and give that opportunity for people to see it and give them hopefully the encouragement to take it from seeing it to the next step, and that's doing it. So that's kind of where Tim is at in all these things. So we'll get back on the air. Enough of my soapbox there. CQ Parks on the air. CQ Parks on the air. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ Parks on the air. CQ Parks on the air. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by.
November Sugar 5 Hotel.
November Sugar 5 Hotel. Joe, good morning, 57.
Yeah, I think someone kind of stepped on your frequency there, but I've got you 5959 into Oklahoma.
I'll take the 59 into Oklahoma, my friend. Yeah, I can barely hear him just under the noise floor. Guess I'll go find a new frequency.
Yeah, roger that. Hope you have a nice day.
All right, you too, my friend. Have a great day today in 73. Well, that's how the cookie crumbles. Here's his frequency in use. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot. Here's his frequency in use. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot. CQ Parks on the air. CQ Parks on the air. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ Parks on the air. CQ Parks on the air. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. Aaron, I didn't want to think of it like that, but you're absolutely right. I've got them in my notes here, the link for the Ham Church. CQ Parks on the air. CQ Parks on the air. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ Parks on the air. CQ Parks on the air. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ Parks on the air. CQ Parks on the air. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. Yeah, sometimes it happens, man. It's so busy that you have to do that, and and everything. And actually, I got pushed off my frequency twice by the Mississippi QSO party, and I'm a little frustrated by that because it was just bad operating etiquette on their part, because they actually made contact with me and then just took over the frequency, and I wasn't too happy about that. And good morning, Rick. CQ Parks on the air. CQ Parks on the air. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ Parks on the air. CQ Parks on the air. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by.
Kilo, Quebec 4, November, Delta, November.
Kilo, Quebec 4, November, Delta, November. Dana, good afternoon, 5-9.
Roger, Roger. I have you 5-5, West Coast of Florida. Thanks for playing.
All right, thanks to 5-5 into Florida, my friend. You have a great day today in 73.
7-3.
All right, thank you. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot, QRZ. CQ Parks on the air. CQ Parks on the air. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. CQ Parks on the air. CQ Parks on the air. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air from US 4215, the Morgan Monroe State Forest. November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot calling CQ Parks on the air and standing by. So it looks like I've got somebody on frequency there. 314, 313. So I think I'm just going to maybe swing through and just try to see if I can't hit some of the people that are spotted. And get a few more contacts in the books. From the rural standpoint, I have activated the park. I've made at least 10 contacts from in here, which is fine. And most likely I will be back here later today anyway, so would not be a problem. One of the things that, if you're not familiar with amateur radio and you're comparing it to something like GMRS, FRS, CB, we're a non-channelized service versus GMRS, where you go to channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, and those channels are set by code. The frequency for that channel is set. So any radio that you get that's, here in the United States, Canada, whatever, those frequencies are fixed. And yeah, John, I heard that, unfortunately. Yeah. So that's how those in amateur radio, we don't have a set frequency for a channel or anything like that. We have a range of frequencies that we can operate on, and you can go anywhere in there, which gives us some latitude to be able to utilize a little bit more and kind of split in between two stations. So generally on sideband, you're operating, in our case, upper sideband, we're operating in a 3 kilohertz slot above the frequency that's on the dial. So if I'm set to 14.314, my voice as it goes out over the air is occupying the space of 3.14, 15, 16, 17. That portion of it is where my voice is being pushed out into the air. So somebody in that case was just underneath me at 3.13. That is intermixing with my signal. So that may or may not be causing problems for people depending on where that station I am, and then the other station, the third listening station, is at. So there gets some issues in there. The good news with sideband, and I the best way I can explain it to people is it's like going into a large room and hearing multiple conversations at the same time. Unlike AM radio or FM radio, where you have a carrier and your modulation rides on that carrier, in a sideband, that carrier is suppressed and it's just the pure modulation going out over the air. And really, as the receiver, as the transmitter side of it, you're just using that frequency to capture that pure modulation to a point where you can tune it, bring it in, and then run it through the audio processing to put it into the speakers, or from the microphone, from what I'm speaking out over the air. So so on the sideband side of things, it literally is like sitting in a room and hearing multiple conversations going on at the same time. And sometimes that's a problem, sometimes it's not. In my case, or like the last QSO that I made, the guy was just like, well, there's another station. And for him, it might have been disruptive. For somebody on the other side of the country, it may not have been. So it's all hit and miss. And, we just find a way to work with each other and share the frequencies and go. And if you were on here earlier, you saw that at some point somebody told me that there was another station that I couldn't hear that was also trying to use the frequency too. So that's kind of how that goes. Just to run through these real quick here. Ham Church is coming up at 10 o'clock with Big Jim and T.O. Just to do our rundown real quick. Let me open this up a little bit more. I did make 14 contacts today, 10 of them on 40 meters and 4 of them on 20 meters. Made contact in 9 U.S. states, so 9 out of the 50. From the DXCC entity standpoint, had contacts in 13 of them in the United States and 1 of them in the U.S. Virgin Islands. So we can talk about DXCC entities later on, but just in general, most countries have their own DXCC number, kind of like calling codes, country codes for phones. The U.S. has one for the continental United States. Hawaii has its own. Puerto Rico has its own. The U.S. Virgin Islands has its own. Alaska has its own because it's not part of the contiguous United States. Canada has one. Mexico has one. All the countries have them. So, and that's a thing that people track in amateur radio, and everything. Yeah, if you heard my complaint yesterday about the 2 operators from the QSO party, what irritated me was that they made a contact with me. They had communication with me, and then they just started calling CQ for the QSO party on the frequency, which just irritated the bejesus out of me. But it is what it is. I just found a new frequency. It was easier than arguing with them. Today, looking at the distribution of where the contacts are, green is 20 meters and blue is 40 meters. So all kinds of just goes into the time of day, the number of people out there and the contacts and what you can do and how far you can go. There's some science in the and math that come into the MUF, the maximum usable frequency, and the sun in relationship to the various layers of the ionosphere, and how that acts as a reflector, or does it absorb the signals? Does it bounce off? If you think of the pool table, you hit the ball towards the bumper, it hits the bumper and goes a different direction. You start using the geometry there and the trigonometry. It's the same thing. You don't necessarily have to know the formulas to make it happen, but all that comes into play on how this map is going to look at the end of the day. But the flip side of that also is that you have to have people on the other side to make contacts with, and that kind of varies depending on the time of day. So that is it. Any questions in the chat real quick before we wrap it up here? We got about 2 minutes before Big Jim and T.O. fire up the pipe organ in the church today, the Ham Church. All right. Well, I don't see anything in there. Thank you everybody for sticking in there today. Unfortunately, it was not as productive as I would like it. It, from that activity standpoint, it was a successful activation. But I don't worry about successful or not. Every activation to me, if you're outside having fun, enjoying your hobby, that is a successful activation. But all right, so I'm going to go ahead here and put the link to Ham Church here in the chat. If you guys are interested, up in the top corner there is a link to my social medias. If you're interested in following me, I think the Rumble channel, the YouTube channel, X, Twitch, all that stuff is up there. So you can follow that. Also, Wednesday nights we live stream with the Ham Radio Kids Table, and there should have been some links dropping in there occasionally for that. That's where there's a group of us that get together, fellow amateur radio operators. We bring people in. We're talking about the next generation of amateur radio, because our belief in the kids table is that it's not your grandpa's hobby anymore, and it's our hobby now, and we're going to run it the way we want to run it and have fun. So with that being said, guys, have a great Sunday. Appreciate you stopping by. 73 everybody, and have a great day, and have a great week.